Mike Lambros began teaching in 1978, and in 1980, he was introduced as the softball coach of the Lady Knights of North Davidson High School in Lexington, North Carolina. Or more appropriately, softball was introduced to Coach Lambros. Coach Lambros was also a football and wrestling coach. In fact, while earning his degree from Elon University, he was a wrestler himself, and he brought the same level of coaching intensity from the gridiron and the mat to the diamond. And his Lady Knights quickly responded by winning the first of 32 conference championships. Over his career of 38 seasons as coach of the Lady Knights, his teams won 878 games, the most of any softball coach in North Carolina. They earned 32 conference championships, 8 regional championships. His teams appeared in 17 Final Fours. They finished as state runner-up 7 times, and they won 2 North Carolina High School Athletic Association state championships. And in 2010, USA Today ranked Coach Lambros' Lady Knights as the #1 team in the nation. Additionally, Coach Lambros has been inducted into several Halls of Fame, including the North Carolina Softball Coaches Association Hall of Fame in 2010, the Davidson County Sports Hall of Fame in 2012. He was named the North Carolina High School Athletic Association Harvey Reed Male Coach of the Year in 2013, and in 2017, Coach Lambros was selected as the Flow Softball National High School Softball Coach of the Year and the North Carolina 4A Softball Coach of the Year. 2 of Coach Lambros' most coveted honors occurred during the fall of 2016, when he was presented the Order of the Longleaf Pine Award, the highest civilian honor given in North Carolina by its governor. And the field where his teams won so many games and championships was dedicated to him, now known from this point forward as Mike Lambros Field. But Coach Lambros would tell you that while he was extremely honored to receive all of those accolades, they all are second to his players and staff members, North Davidson High School, and the community that embraced him for nearly 40 years. And what would some say about Coach Lambros?
I think the first time I met him, I was about 6 years old, going to one of his softball camps in the summer. I just remember being just so full of energy and just a fiery little man running around, yelling at everyone, trying to instruct, but also just trying to keep the energy up for a bunch of kids, 5 to 12 years old at his camps. And the one thing I always remember is he just walks around fearless.
My first impression is that he's tough. I mean, he was just so structured and so disciplined, and just had really high expectations for himself and his players and his program. And so it was kind of intimidating a little bit. I mean, if you don't know him and you don't play for him, I mean, I can't imagine being an opponent on the other team and having to play against Coach Lambros. I mean, he was intense. He wanted to win. He had a lot of fire and energy. So as an outsider, it kind of looks intimidating at first.
I think the thing about Mike that was so impressive is that he was never satisfied with just being good. He wanted to be great. And so he went to the University of Arizona to watch their program. He went to many, many college practices to see how they do it at the higher levels. And he tried to model a lot of that, put his own little touch on it, but his teams were always so prepared. His pregame warm-up was like none I've ever seen, and he just did things with detail and to perfection.
I think there was one example that sticks out in my head where he called me. I had a terrible week at practice, and I was playing up on varsity, and I had no business being there, but he had pulled me up, and I had performed awful, and he pulled me in his office, and he had this dictionary laying out on his desk, and I was like, what is a PE teacher doing with a dictionary out on his desk? But he told me to sit down and read the definition that he had highlighted. So it was the definition of the word special, and I read it out loud to him, and he just came around the table and got right down in my face and was like, when I read this, when I hear these words, I think about you as a player. And then he told me to get off my tail and go show everybody else what that looked like.
I think
The biggest thing that I've noticed is the practices. I mean, I'll tell my teammates here that my high school practices were just as hard as they are here, because he was always wanting to learn and he was eager to learn about the game. So he would come to schools like Carolina, he would talk to Mike Candrea, he would talk to all these people to try to learn how to make a high school sport a next level sport. And that's why he was preparing girls, whether they were going to play softball in college or not. He was getting them ready for a fast-paced environment where there was high expectations and where you were expected to perform.
Definitely. I remember hearing when I was little that he was Greek, and I did not know what that meant at the time. I just was like, oh, he's Greek, cool. But, as a 6-year-old, like, you see this man running across the field just booming with energy and excitement, and honestly probably more excitement than I felt, because I was nervous at these camps. And he was just so excited to have everyone there and just always made it about you. Even though there were 100 other kids at the camp, it was always a you attitude that he had when working with everyone.
Well, it's just the kind of person that he was. He related softball to life. So anything that we did with softball, anything that we, the little lessons he taught us at practice, they related to our real life situations. He always made sure that, yes, softball's fun and he wanted us to be the best athlete that we could be, but he wanted to make sure that we were the best people that we could be too. So he just would always make sure that whatever we learned or whatever we took from softball, whether it was hard work and dedication or whether it was picking up a teammate when they were down, related to real life, being dedicated in your schoolwork, or if a friend's having a bad day, going and making sure that they're okay and everything. So just when you talk about softball, it just automatically, he comes to mind, because softball became, our real life for everything.
I cannot think of anyone more deserving of being inducted into the NFCA Hall of Fame than Mike Lambros. He's truly deserving of this honor. He would be so humbled and honored for this day. One of Mike's favorite sayings was, "Have a yeah baby day." And I know that for Mike, this is definitely a yeah baby day. Congrats, Mike. Love you.
When you begin your life, you wonder where God will place you. For me, He put me in the most special place in the world. I thank Him every day for where I am and for the people He has placed around me. I've had the privilege to coach at North Davidson High School since 1978, and through the years, the community has supported our sports and academics programs. Coaching is in my heart, to care for kids and inspire them to become part of the community and one day give back. Over the course of the time, I have learned that if you listen to what some of the kids say, they teach you as much as you teach them. My family and I would like to thank you for all your support during this time. Let every day be a yeah baby day.